CNBC TV 18 Weekender.
Hi guys, it's the Weekender yet again. Not just anyone, but a Mumbai Monsoon special edition as that. You know, the best thing to do in the rains is to sit at home with a book. We at CNBC TV 18 do something even better. Go to the author's house and spend a rainy weekend with him. Our guest today, best-selling novelist, writer of the Bharat series, Rosabelle Line, Krishna P, as well as Chanakya's Chant, Ashwin Sanghi. Let's go. Hi Ashwin.
Hi Mangalam, good to see you. Shall we go to my study?
For sure.
Yeah, this is where I spend most of my time actually.
So is this where all the magic is created?
Well, I don't know about magic, but this is pretty much my sacred space, the place where I do all my research in the evenings, the place where I write in the mornings, and it's the place where most of my inspiration tends to come to me.
Talking about inspiration, I can see stuff from Britannica, Charles Dickens out here. You have Shobha Day as well. And finally, my eyes dart to corporate finance. That's a varied range of inspiration.
I know.
But the book that actually caught my eye is the one here.
Okay, the Da Vinci Code, yeah.
And you've been compared or likened to be the Da Vinci of India. How do you react to that comparison?
Well, you know, the comparison actually happened because my very first book, The Rosabelle Line, was a book which talked about the possibility that Jesus Christ could have actually continued to live after the crucifixion and that he actually came to India. And at that time, any book which vaguely resembled anything to do with Jesus Christ or Mary Magdalene automatically got lumped into the Da Vinci category.
Okay.
So that comparison has stuck on from that time onwards. But having said that, I have no problem with that comparison because I actually genuinely love Dan Brown. I mean, I'm a big fan of his. In fact, that edition that you pointed out to is a personally signed one by Dan Brown.
Oh, that's rather cool. In fact, have you personally signed one and sent to Dan Brown?
Yeah, because the man was here in Bombay about a year and a half ago. And we actually had a chance to interact for more than a few hours while he was in Bombay. So we exchanged books also, and we also ended up talking about a lot of common things that interested us.
So we had to sum up your life. You started out as a businessman who wrote checks to vendors, wrote checks to your employees, and then suddenly loved writing, started writing books. Because you loved writing so much, you wrote a contract to yourself, self-published your book, and now you write royalty checks to yourself. Does that sum it up correctly?
I've never been described that way before. So congratulations for a new description. But let me put it this way. I think 12 years ago, I was a businessman who was also a writer. Today, I'm a writer who's also a businessman. So that is the change that has happened over the last dozen years. When I was growing up, my entire life revolved around business. I was born and brought up in this business family. And in fact, my father used to send me to our place of work when I was just aged 12. And he would say, learn the fundamentals of debit and credit.
Okay.
And we had a Munimji in our office who used to teach me accounting.
Is that where the reference in Sialkot Saga comes, where Arvind goes to the Munimji to
Absolutely. That's my own story.
Oh, that's good.
That's my own story. But the point being that the Munimji would always see me with a paperback in my hand, and he would say that, Beta, why are you spending so much time on reading books? Instead, focus on bookkeeping. Bookkeeping rather than book reading is what you should focus on. And if you must read, then read a balance sheet. Why are you bothering with this stuff?
You would totally work in CNBC TV. All right. So then, how the writing, you're a cathedral boy, Xavier's, moved on to Yale. Where
Yes.
did the writing bug bite you?
So that actually comes from my grandfather.
Okay.
Actually not even grandfather, granduncle. My maternal granduncle was a voracious reader. And during, he had a wonderful library. He used to live in Kanpur.
Okay.
And every week from Kanpur, he would send me one book.
Okay.
And he would say, Beta, isko padh lo. That this is a book which you must read. That tradition went on throughout his life. And that is really where that entire habit of reading came from. I mean, he was one of those people who gave me books which were way ahead of my time. I mean, I remember reading a book like Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahans Yoganand, probably when I was 13 years old. And then on the other hand, there was my mother, who was very fond of reading fast-paced paperbacks.
Right.
So all the latest thrillers would always be with her. Ludlam, Frederick Forsyth, Ken Follett, Jeffrey Archer, Sidney Sheldon. And she would pass them on to me, Irving Wallace, Arthur Haley. So I was receiving these two streams of books. One from my grandfather, which was much more of philosophy and religion and spirituality and classical stuff. And on the other hand, I was receiving very fast-paced, thrilling type of stuff from my mom. And I think my writing is a combination of both those streams.
And your travels, because all of that went to the Rosabal visit that you did in Kashmir and came on the book?
That was my turning point, really, because till 2003, when I ended up visiting the Rosabal Shrine, I didn't know that I had it in me to write a book. In fact, even when I visited the Rosabal Shrine, I didn't know that there was any possibility that I would write a book. But it's just that the shrine became an obsession. It became fascinating. It dates back to 112 AD, and that particular tomb has two bodies inside it. It's not one body. One body is in a north-south direction, but one is in an east-west. So the lower body is actually a Jewish burial, which goes back to 112 AD. That became my obsession for the next couple of years, and that's what led to that first book.
We'll continue this chat about your obsession and much more on the other side. Stay tuned to The Weekender.
The relationship between a critic and a writer, please understand, is almost like comparing the relationship between a lamppost and a dog. I mean, the reality is each one has a function to perform.
I'm assuming the writer is the lamppost.
CNBC TV 18 Weekender.